Hello guys, today we're going to be doing Deltamath, adding and subtracting polynomials. So let's go ahead and complete some examples from Deltamath. Perform the operation. As we can see, our first polynomial is in parentheses and it is x squared plus 8x plus 8. And the operation that we're performing is addition because there's an addition sign between the parentheses. And we have negative 10x squared plus 5x. So let's go ahead and get started. On Deltamath, I'm pretty sure it's going to ask us to put it in standard form, so we're always going to start with the highest exponent first. So we're going to go ahead and start with x squared. X squared is the highest exponent I see, and we're going to combine that with, we're going to add that to another term that is just like it. Which term is just like it? This negative 10x. So x squared plus negative 10x is negative 9x squared. So we added our first pair of like terms. Now we're going to go ahead and add the 8x. We have an 8x here and we're adding a 5x. So 8 plus 5 is 13x. So there's my answer. And then notice that we didn't do anything with this 8. There's no other constant to add it to. So it's just going to be negative 9x squared plus 13x plus 8. And this is probably how Deltamath is going to want you to type it in standard form with the highest exponent first, then the next highest exponent, and then the constant last. All right, let's go ahead and try another one. Perform the operation. Again, we have a binomial because it has two terms being subtracted from this binomial. Now, subtraction is a little bit trickier. This is where my students tend to mess up, so be careful. I'm going to write it like this. This first polynomial, I really don't need the parentheses, so I'm just going to get rid of them. So we got negative 7x squared plus 3, and we're subtracting everything in the parentheses that follow. So when I subtract that, that's really like multiplying a negative 1. So, because I'm multiplying by negative 1, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to distribute. A negative times a negative is a positive 4x. 1 times 4x is 4x. And then I got to multiply that negative by the 3. A negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 3 is 3. Like that. So, don't forget to distribute the negative when you're subtracting. Don't forget to distribute. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Negative. All right. So we're not going to forget to distribute that negative. And then we can combine our like terms. So again, we want to start with the highest exponent first because that's just mathematically pleasing, I guess. Starting with that. So we got negative 7x squared, and there's no other x squared, so I'm just going to bring that down. Then the second one is 4x. There's not another term with just x, so I'm going to bring that down. And then we have this 3 plus 3, which gives us 6. So that would be our answer in standard form, and you would type that into Deltamath. All right, let's go ahead and try another example. These are the ones that are a little tricky just by the format that they're set up in. So we have subtract this polynomial, negative 7x minus 9, from negative 4x squared plus 3x minus 5. So because it says subtract this from the second one, we're going to write it like this. We have negative 4x squared plus 3x minus 5. And we're going to subtract negative 7x minus 9 from it. And that's how you would write it. A lot of students confuse that order, so just be very careful with that. And because it is subtraction, we're going to have to distribute that negative, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. The first polynomial stays the same. Make sure you carry the negative. I almost forgot it right there. Make sure you copy it down correctly. I think that's a mistake that we all make. So that first polynomial doesn't change because there's nothing on the outside to distribute. Then this negative is like a negative 1. So I'm going to multiply it into the parentheses. A negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 7x is just 7x. And then I'm going to multiply the negative 1 times the negative 9. A negative times a negative is a positive. 1 times 9 is 9. Now that I got rid of that complicated subtraction sign, I'm going to combine my like terms. Again, we want to start with the highest exponent because it's just mathematically nice. And putting it in standard form. So we got a negative 4x squared. And we don't have another x squared, so I'm not going to add anything to it. Then I'm going to start with my 3x. I have 3x, and I can combine that with 7x. Those are like terms, so that's going to be 10x. And then I have minus 5 and plus 9, which is going to give me plus 4. And there's my answer. All right, let's go ahead and try one more. This is another subtraction one. If you want to go ahead and pause the video and just kind of test your skills on this one, go for it. Okay, so hopefully you've paused the video and tried your skills on this one. This is another subtraction one. I like to do the subtraction one just to kind of get the idea of distributing that negative in your heads. So the first one doesn't have anything going on in the front, so I'm just going to write it again. 6x squared minus 5x. And then we have this negative that means subtraction. So we got to distribute it. Don't forget to distribute it to everything in the parentheses. Everything in the parentheses that follow. So that negative 1 times 10 is negative 10x squared. Then we're going to do that negative 1 times positive 8. That's a positive and a negative is a negative. 1 times 8x is 8x. And we got to distribute to the last one because it's also in the parentheses. A negative times a negative is a positive. 8 times 1 is just 8, like that. And then we're just back to combining like terms. So we have a 6x squared, and I can combine that with a negative 10x squared. The negative is greater, so it wins. 10 minus 6 is 4, 4x squared. Then we have a negative 5x and a negative 8x. They're both negatives, and we're just adding negatives on top of negatives, so that's negative 13x. And then back here, we got a plus 8 that's all lonely, has no friends. So there we go. That is how you answer that one. And I think that was all the examples. Yep, that example is just like the other one. So hopefully you guys understand that. Let me know if you liked the video by giving me a like, and I hope you guys have a good day.